The cold metal walls of the UES frontier hummed with life as Captain Jake Morrison opened his eyes for the first time in 18 months. The cryo-sleep chamber hissed open, releasing clouds of frozen air that made him shiver. His body felt stiff and weak, but his mind was already working. Something was wrong. Jake pulled himself up slowly and looked around the cryo bay. Hundreds of other sleep pods were opening too. His crew was waking up just like he was. But they were not supposed to wake up yet. The mission plan called for 24 months in deep sleep before they reached their target system. Captain Morrison to the bridge, came a voice over the ship's speakers. It was Lisa Turner, his chief engineer. She sounded worried. Jake grabbed his uniform and dressed quickly. His legs felt like rubber, but he forced himself to walk. The corridors of the frontier were filled with confused crew members, all asking the same question. Why were they awake early? When Jake reached the bridge, he found Lisa standing at the main console. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking slightly. Behind her, Ben Rodriguez, the security chief, was checking weapon systems. Dr. Amy Phillips was running medical scans on the crew, while Ryan Carter worked at the communications station. "What's our status, Lisa?" Jake asked, settling into his captain's chair. Lisa turned to face him. "Sir, we have a big problem. The quantum drive is dead, completely burned out. We're stuck here wherever here is." Jake felt his stomach drop. The quantum drive was their only way home. Without it, they were stranded in deep space, thousands of light years from Earth. "How bad is it?" "Bad," Lisa said. "The drive core is fried. I can fix it, but it will take months, maybe years. And that's if I can find the right parts." Ryan Carter looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm picking up signals, lots of them. We're not alone out here." Jake walked over to Ryan's console. The communications screen showed dozens of different signals coming from somewhere nearby. The patterns were complex and clearly artificial. Someone was talking out there, but it was not human. "Where are these signals coming from?" Jake asked. Ryan pointed to the main screen. Outside the bridge windows, space looked empty, but the sensors told a different story. "There's something big about 2 million kilometers away. The computer thinks it's a space station, but it's huge, bigger than anything we've ever built." Ben Rodriguez checked his security reports. "Captain, I've got all weapon systems online just in case, but honestly, if there's a station that big out there, our weapons won't do much good." Dr. Amy Phillips finished her medical checks. "All crew members are healthy, Captain. The early wake-up didn't hurt anyone. But people are scared. They want answers." Jake nodded. He was scared too, but he could not show it. As captain, he had to stay calm and make good decisions. The lives of 847 people depended on him. "Lisa, how long before you can tell me more about our location?" he asked. "Give me 30 minutes to run full scans," she replied. "But Captain, our quantum signatures are all wrong. I think we traveled much farther than we planned." While Lisa worked, Jake called a meeting with his senior officers. They gathered in the small conference room next to the bridge. Through the windows, they could see stars that none of them recognized. "We're lost," Jake said simply. "Our drive is broken and we're in unknown space, but we're not alone. There's a massive space station nearby and someone is using it to send radio signals." Ben Rodriguez crossed his arms. "Could be hostile. We should be ready for anything. Or they could be friendly," Dr. Phillips said. "We don't know anything about them yet." Ryan Carter had been listening to the alien signals. "The patterns are very complex. Mathematical sequences, repeating codes. It looks like they're trying to communicate with each other, not with us." "What about our mission?" Ben asked. "We were supposed to explore the Kepler 442 system and look for habitable planets." Lisa looked up from her tablet. "That's just it. I think we are in the Kepler 442 system, but we overshot our target by about 6 months of travel time. We're much deeper in space than we planned." Jake felt a mix of excitement and fear. They had made it to their destination, but they were stranded, and they had found evidence of alien life on their first day. This was exactly what Earth scientists had hoped for, but also what they had feared. "Captain," Ryan said quietly, "I think they know we're here." Everyone turned to look at him. Ryan's face was pale as he stared at his instruments. The signal patterns just changed. They're stronger now, and they're pointing in our direction. Someone or something is trying to scan us. Jake made his decision. Red alert. All hands to stations. But do not power weapons unless I give the order. We don't want to start a fight we can't win. The ship's alarms began to sound. Throughout the frontier, 847 human beings prepared for the unknown. Some were excited to meet alien life. Others were terrified. All of them looked to their captain for leadership. Jake returned to the bridge and sat in his chair. On the main screen, space still looked empty. But he knew that somewhere out there, alien eyes were watching his ship. After hundreds of years of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. The question now was simple but terrifying. Were these aliens friends or enemies? And what would happen when two completely different species met for the first time? Lisa called out from her station. Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from that station. Whatever they're doing, over there, it's using more power than our entire ship. Ben Rodriguez checked his weapons one more time. All systems ready, Captain. But if they have that much power, our guns won't help much. Dr. Phillips was monitoring the crew's health. Everyone is scared but holding together. They trust you to get us through this. Ryan Carter was still listening to the alien signals. The patterns are getting more complex. I think they're talking about us. Jake took a deep breath. In the next few hours, he would have to make decisions that could determine the fate of not just his crew, but possibly all of humanity. First contact with an alien species was something people had dreamed about for centuries. Now it was happening, and Jake Morrison was the man who would have to handle it. He looked out at the stars and wondered what kind of beings were out there, watching his ship. In a few hours, he would find out. Everything was about to change, and it all started with just one human ship arriving in the wrong place at the right time. Jake Morrison stared at the alien signals flowing across Ryan Carter's screen. The patterns were beautiful and complex, like music made of mathematics, but they were also completely impossible to understand. Any luck with translation? Jake asked. Ryan shook his head. I've been trying for 6 hours, Captain. The patterns repeat, but I can't figure out what they mean. It's like trying to read a book written in colors instead of words. Lisa Turner looked up from her repair work. Captain, I've got some good news and some bad news about our quantum drive. Give me the bad news first, Jake said. It's completely dead. The core is melted, and 3 major components are beyond repair. Even if I had a full shipyard, it would take months to fix. Jake felt his heart sink. And the good news? I think I know why we ended up here. The drive didn't just break randomly. Something pulled us here. The quantum signatures around this system are unlike anything I've ever seen. It's like the space itself is twisted. Before Jake could respond, Ryan suddenly sat up straight. Captain, the signals just changed again. They're sending something directly at us. On the main screen, a series of simple mathematical equations appeared. First came basic addition, 2 + 2 = 4, then multiplication, 3 times. 5 = 15. The equations got more complex, moving through geometry and finally to advanced physics. Dr. Amy Phillips smiled. They're trying to talk to us. Mathematics is universal. Every intelligent species should understand numbers. Jake nodded to Ryan. Send the same equations back to them, but add one more step to each sequence. Show them we understand. Ryan's fingers flew over his controls. Within minutes he had sent their response. The wait felt like hours, but it was only 30 seconds before new signals came back. This time the equations were followed by simple pictures. A circle, a triangle, a star, then more complex images that showed planets orbiting suns, and what looked like spaceships moving between worlds. They're showing us their solar system, Lisa said with excitement. Look, there are 12 planets around their star, and 6 of them have artificial objects in orbit. The images kept coming. Now they showed different types of creatures. Some looked like tall, thin humans with 4 arms. Others were covered in fur and had 6 legs. There were beings that looked like living crystals, and others that seemed to Be made of pure energy. My God, Dr. Phillips whispered. It's not just one alien species, there are dozens of them, all living together. Ryan was working frantically at his station. Captain, I'm starting to understand their language system. It's not like human languages at all. They use combinations of mathematical concepts and visual symbols. It's incredibly efficient. Jake made a decision. Send them images of Earth. Show them what humans look like, and that we're peaceful explorers. As Ryan prepared their message, Ben Rodriguez pulled Jake aside. Captain, are you sure about this? We don't know anything about these aliens. They could be dangerous. Ben, we're one ship against what looks like an entire civilization. If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already. Our only chance is to try to make friends. The human message went out into space. Pictures of Earth's blue oceans and green continents, images of human cities and faces, a simple diagram showing the frontier's journey from Earth to this system. The response came back quickly, and it was much longer than before. The aliens sent detailed star maps showing their territory, which stretched across hundreds of solar systems. They showed pictures of their cities which were beautiful beyond human imagination. Floating crystal palaces, cities built inside the rings of planets and space habitats that housed millions of beings. But then the messages changed. Suddenly, the images showed something dark and frightening. Massive black ships destroying planets. Entire solar systems going dark. Millions of beings fleeing in terror. What are they showing us? Jake asked. Ryan was pale as he translated the symbols. I think it's a warning, Captain. There's something out there that scares them. Something that destroys everything in its path. The alien message continued. It showed a vast armada of black warships moving toward the system where the frontier now sat. The symbols indicated time measurements, and Ryan's translation made Jake's blood run cold. Captain, if I'm reading this right, this enemy fleet will be here in 6 days. Lisa looked at her instruments. The aliens are trying to tell us something else. Their space station is not a military base, it's a refugee center. All those different species we saw, they're not conquerors. They're survivors. Dr. Phillips studied the medical scans they had received. These beings, they're not built for war. Look at their body structures. They're designed for peace, for cooperation. They've probably never fought a real battle in their lives. Jake felt the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders. The frontier had stumbled into the middle of what looked like a galactic war. On one side were peaceful aliens who had built a beautiful civilization based on cooperation. On the other side was an unknown enemy that destroyed everything it touched. Ben Rodriguez was studying the tactical information. Captain, if these refugees are telling the truth, we're looking at a fleet of 3,000 warships. They'll wipe out everything in this system, including us. Ryan received another message from the alien station. This one was shorter and more urgent. Captain, they're asking if we can help them. They want to know if humans have weapons or military knowledge. Jake almost laughed, but there was no humor in the situation. One human ship against 3,000 alien warships? They must be desperate. But as he thought about it, Jake realized something important. The aliens had shared their knowledge freely. They had shown trust by revealing their weaknesses. They had asked for help instead of demanding it. Lisa was still working on the quantum drive analysis. Captain, there's something strange about our drive failure. The patterns don't match normal equipment breakdown. I think something about this system interfered with our quantum field. Could you fix it? Jake asked. Maybe, but not in 6 days. And certainly not while we're being shot at by 3,000 warships. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was tired and scared, but they were still working. They were still trying to find solutions. That was what humans did best. When faced with impossible problems, they found impossible solutions. Ryan, send a message to the alien station. Tell them we want to meet face to face. If we're going to help each other, we need to understand each other better. Captain, Ben Rodriguez said quietly, what if this is a trap? What if they're lying about being peaceful? Jake thought about it for a moment. Then we're dead anyway. But if they're telling the truth, then 847 humans might be the only thing standing between civilization and destruction. The response from the aliens came back immediately. coordinates for a docking bay on their massive station, an invitation to come aboard and meet the leaders of what they called the Collective. Jake made his decision. Lisa, you keep working on the drive. Ben, select a security team. Amy, prepare for possible alien contact. Ryan, you're with me. We're going to meet our new neighbors. As the shuttle bay prepared for launch, Jake wondered what he was getting his crew into. In 6 days, an enemy fleet would arrive to destroy everything in this system. The peaceful aliens were asking for help they probably could not provide, but Jake Morrison was human, and humans had never been good at accepting impossible odds. Jake Morrison had never seen anything like the alien space station. As their shuttle approached the docking bay, he could see through the transparent walls into vast chambers filled with beings from dozens of different worlds. Some floated in, water-filled tubes, others moved on multiple legs across crystal walkways, and a few seemed to exist as pure energy contained in special fields. The docking bay itself was enormous, easily large enough to hold 10 ships the size of the Frontier. When their shuttle landed, Jake saw his first alien in person. It was tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Its large eyes held intelligence and something that looked like hope. Captain Morrison, the alien, spoke through a translation device. I am Administrator Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective. We welcome you to Station Haven. Jake stepped forward with Ryan Carter beside him. Ben Rodriguez and 2 security officers stayed close, but kept their weapons lowered. Thank you for meeting with us, Administrator. We want to help, but we need to understand the situation better. Veltar led them through corridors that curved and twisted in ways that hurt Jake's eyes. The walls seemed to be alive, glowing with soft light that changed colors as they walked. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans, their expressions unreadable but not hostile. They entered a large chamber filled with floating platforms where dozens of different species sat in what looked like a council meeting. At the center, a massive holographic display showed the approaching enemy fleet. 3,000 black ships moving toward their system like a plague of metal locusts. The hegemony of Krell, Veltar explained. They have destroyed 17 civilizations in the past century. They take what they want and burn the rest. In 4 days, they will arrive here. A crystal being that sparkled with inner light spoke in musical tones. The translator converted its words. We have 47 million refugees in this system. Our ships can evacuate perhaps 10 million before the Krell arrive. The rest will die. Jake felt sick. 37 million innocent beings would be murdered, and there was nothing he could do about it. The Frontier had weapons, but they were designed for exploration, not war. Against 3,000 military ships, they would last maybe 10 minutes. What about your own defenses? Ryan asked. A furry alien with 6 legs made a sound like laughing, but sadder. We are the Collective. We have not fought a war in 3,000 years. Our weapons are for moving asteroids and stopping pirates. Against the Krell, they are toys. Ben Rodriguez studied the tactical display. Captain, these Krell ships are huge, but they're using old technology. Their weapons are powerful but slow. Their shields are strong but inflexible. That doesn't matter, Jake said. 1 against 3,000 is still impossible. But as he watched the display, an idea began to form in Jake's mind. It was crazy, probably suicidal, but it might be their only chance. Veltar, can you show me detailed scans of the Krell ships? I want to see their engine systems. The holographic display zoomed in on one of the enemy vessels. Jake studied the design carefully. The Krell used quantum drives similar to human technology, but much larger and more primitive. Lisa would love to see this, Jake muttered. Who is Lisa? Veltar asked. My chief engineer, she's the one who figured out why our drive failed. Jake paused as the pieces clicked together in his mind. Veltar, our quantum drive didn't just break randomly. Something about this system interfered with it. Something that created resonance patterns. Yes, Veltar said. This system sits at the intersection of several quantum fields. It creates unusual effects. We use those effects to power our station. Jake's heart began to race. Could those same effects be used to interfere with other quantum drives? The crystal being spoke again. Theoretically, yes. But the power required would be enormous, and the field would have to be precisely tuned to the target's quantum signature. Jake was already thinking like an engineer. What if we didn't need to destroy their drives? What if we just needed to disable them temporarily? Captain, Ben Rodriguez said quietly, what are you thinking? I'm thinking about asymmetric warfare, Ben. David and Goliath. Sometimes the little guy wins because he's faster and smarter. Jake turned to address the entire council. The Krell expect you to run or surrender. They've done this 17 times before, so they think they know exactly what will happen. But they've never faced humans before. Veltar's large eyes focused on Jake. What are you proposing? A trap. We let them get close, then we hit them with something they've never seen before. But I need to talk to my crew first. This plan will require sacrifices from everyone. The council agreed to give Jake time to consult with his people. As they returned to the shuttle, Ben Rodriguez grabbed Jake's arm. Captain, whatever you're planning, it sounds dangerous. It is dangerous, Ben. Probably suicidal. But doing nothing guarantees that 37 million people die. Back on the frontier, Jake called an emergency meeting with all department heads. Lisa Turner looked exhausted from working on the quantum drive, but her eyes lit up when Jake explained his idea. You want to use our drive as a weapon, she asked. Not exactly. I want to use it as a disruptor. Create a resonance field that interferes with their quantum systems. Lisa thought about it for several minutes. It's possible, but it would require modifying our entire power grid. And Captain, if we do this, our drive will be completely destroyed. We'll never get home. Dr. Amy Phillips spoke up. Captain, we have a duty to our own crew. These aliens are strangers to us. Amy, we're explorers. We came out here to find new life and make contact with other species. Well, we found them. 47 million of them. And they're about to die unless we do something. Ben Rodriguez was studying tactical reports. Even if we disable their drives, they still have weapons, lots of weapons. That's where you come in, Ben. These collective species have never fought a real war. But you have. You've studied every major battle in human history. Ben's eyes widened as he understood. You want me to teach them how to fight? I want you to teach them how to win. They have numbers and they know their technology. You have knowledge of strategy and tactics. Together, maybe we can give the Krell a surprise they'll never forget. Lisa was already making calculations. Captain, if we modify the quantum drive the way you want, we'll need to get very close to the Krell fleet. Close enough that they can shoot back. How close? Maybe 50,000 kilometers, well within range of their main guns. The room was quiet, as everyone realized what Jake was asking. He wanted them to fly their ship directly into the middle of 3,000 enemy warships, knowing they probably wouldn't survive. Ryan Carter had been quiet during the meeting, but now he spoke up. Captain, what about Earth? If we die here, they'll never know what happened to us. Jake thought about home, about the billions of people who were counting on explorers like them to find humanity's place in the galaxy. Then he thought about the crystal being's musical voice asking for help, and Veltar's eyes filled with hope. Ryan, if we don't try this, Earth might face the same enemy someday. Maybe we can't save ourselves, but we might be able to save everyone else. The vote was unanimous. 847 human beings chose to risk everything for people they had never met, from worlds they had never seen. As the meeting ended, Jake looked out at the stars and wondered if they were making the right choice. In 3 days, they would find out if one human ship could change the fate of an entire galaxy. The Krell fleet arrived exactly when the aliens predicted. 3,000 black warships dropped out of hyperspace like a swarm of metal death, their hulls gleaming with weapon ports and shield generators. Admiral Crexmore commanded the fleet, from his flagship, a massive dreadnought called Dark Victory. Jake Morrison watched the enemy ships from the bridge of the frontier. His crew had worked for 3 days straight, turning their peaceful exploration vessel into a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Lisa Turner had rebuilt the quantum drive into something that would either save millions of lives or kill everyone aboard. All Krell ships, this is Admiral Crexmore, came the transmission across all frequencies. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Resistance will be met with total destruction. The message was exactly what Jake had expected. The Krell had used the same words on 17 different worlds. They were so confident in their power that they never changed their tactics. Ben Rodriguez had spent the last 3 days teaching the collective species everything he knew about warfare. The peaceful aliens had learned quickly. Too quickly, perhaps. Their innocent faces now showed grim determination as they prepared to fight for their lives. "Captain," Ryan Carter reported, "the collective fleets are moving into position. 1,200 ships total, but most of them are cargo vessels and civilian transports." "Quality over quantity," Jake replied. "Ben, are your students ready?" Ben nodded from his tactical station. "They understand the plan. Hit fast, hit hard, and disappear before the enemy can respond. The Krell won't expect coordinated attacks from species that have been peaceful for thousands of years," Lisa Turner called out from engineering. "Captain, the quantum drive is ready, but I need to warn you again. When I activate this thing, it's going to tear our ship apart. We'll have maybe 10 minutes before total system failure." 10 minutes to change the galaxy," Jake said quietly. "That should be enough." The Krell fleet began its advance, moving in the same formation they had used to destroy 17 civilizations. Admiral Crexmore was confident. These peaceful aliens would break and run just like all the others. But the first surprise came when the collective ships didn't flee. Instead, they moved to attack positions that Ben Rodriguez had taught them. Small, fast ships darted between the massive Krell dreadnoughts, hitting weapon systems and shield generators with surgical precision. "What is this?" Admiral Crexmore demanded. "These species have never shown military coordination before." The Krell ships tried to respond, but their tactics were designed for fighting enemies who stood still and traded shots. The collective vessels moved like a school of fish, never where the Krell expected them to be. Jake watched the battle unfold and felt a moment of pride. Ben's lessons were working. The aliens were fighting like humans now, using speed and intelligence instead of brute force. But the Krell had too many ships. Slowly, the collective forces began to take losses. For every Krell ship they disabled, they lost 3 of their own. "Captain," Lisa called out, "it's time. If we're going to do this, we need to move now." Jake took a deep breath. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to attempt something that has never been tried before. Whatever happens in the next few minutes, know that you have served with honor." The Frontier accelerated toward the center of the Krell fleet. Their small ship looked insignificant next to the massive enemy dreadnoughts, like a minnow swimming toward a school of sharks. Admiral Crexmore noticed the human ship approaching. "What is that vessel doing? It's too small to be a threat." "Unknown, sir," his tactical officer replied. "It's broadcasting human identification codes. They appear to be the species we detected when we arrived." "Humans?" Crexmore laughed. "I've never heard of them. One small ship against my entire fleet. Destroy it." But Jake Morrison was counting on Krell arrogance. As weapon systems targeted the Frontier, he flew his ship directly into the densest part of their formation. The Krell couldn't fire without hitting their own vessels. "Now, Lisa," Jake shouted. Lisa Turner activated the modified quantum drive. Energy that should have pushed the ship through space instead created a resonance wave that spread outward at the speed of light. The wave hit the first Krell ships and something impossible happened. Their quantum drive simply stopped working. Not destroyed, not damaged, just stopped. 3,000 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy suddenly found themselves stranded in normal space, unable to jump to hyperspace or even move at full speed. Admiral Crexmore stared at his instruments in disbelief. "What did they do to us?" But the second surprise was just beginning. The collective ships, now fighting an enemy that couldn't retreat, pressed their attack with ruthless efficiency. Ben Rodriguez had taught them something the peaceful galaxy had forgotten. Sometimes, to protect the innocent, good people had to do terrible things. The crystal beings used their energy weapons to slice through Krell hull armor like paper. The 6-legged furry aliens swarmed over disabled ships, capturing key systems. The floating energy creatures disrupted Krell electronics just by getting close to them. What should have been a massacre of helpless refugees became a coordinated dismantling of the most feared fleet in the galaxy. On the frontier, systems were failing exactly as Lisa had predicted. Explosions rocked the ship as the quantum drive tore itself apart, but they had done what they came to do. "Captain," Ryan Carter reported, "we're receiving surrender signals from over half the Krell fleet. The rest are trying to run on conventional drives, but the collective ships are hunting them down." Jake smiled as he watched his instruments fail one by one. "Ben, how does it look?" "Complete victory, Captain. The Krell have never faced an enemy that could think tactically. They don't know how to adapt." Dr. Amy Phillips was treating injured crew members, but she looked up long enough to speak. "Captain, we're receiving medical assistance requests from the collective. They want to help us." Within hours, alien rescue ships were pulling the Frontier's crew to safety. Jake Morrison found himself in a medical bay on Station Haven being treated by a crystal being whose touch felt like warm sunlight. Administrator Veltar came to visit him. "Captain Morrison, what you and your crew did today will be remembered forever. You saved 47 million lives." "We did what humans do," Jake replied. "We saw people in trouble and we helped. But at such a cost. Your ship is destroyed, and you are stranded far from home." Jake looked through the medical bay window at the stars outside. Already, representatives from dozens of species were arriving to meet the humans who had changed everything. Ships were coming from hundreds of worlds, all wanting to learn about these strange beings who combined peace and war, wisdom and courage. "Maybe we're not stranded," Jake said. "Maybe we're right where we need to be." Over the following weeks, the story spread across the galaxy. The Krell hegemony, defeated for the first time in centuries, began to fragment as other species realized they could be beaten. The collective, no longer helpless, started expanding again, carrying the lessons Ben Rodriguez had taught them. And at the center of it all was one human ship and its crew of 847 people who had proven that sometimes the smallest action could change everything. Jake Morrison became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Collective. His crew became teachers, showing peaceful species how to defend themselves without becoming conquerors. The frontier was gone, but humanity had found its place among the stars, not as destroyers or as victims, but as the bridge between peace and war, the voice that said courage and compassion could exist together. Just one human ship had arrived, and everything changed instantly.